What's going on, guys? I'm Zach from the Lumios Post, where we talk about all things Pokemon, and today we will be talking about the positives that you can see in Pokemon Gold and Silver. That's right, we've talked about what they got wrong, we've talked about a bunch of games what they got wrong, and we talked about what Red and Blue and Yellow got right, so be sure to check out that playlist that features those videos. But today we'll be talking about what Gold and Silver got right. Not wrong, right. We already did wrong, talking about right now. And let me say, they got a lot of things right. Let's just go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so the first thing is that these games brought so much more life to the video games, and you can't not mention that. I mean, there's so many quality of life and mechanic improvements. Like, we have unique routes and cities and areas, and that's something that Kanto was definitely lacking. They felt very bland in their cities. Like, not only did they all kind of look the same, but also none of them really just stood out in the Pokemon world as a whole, in my opinion. That's definitely not the case here. I mean, you remember Ecruteak City, you remember Olivine City, you remember that stuff. And they had, like, locations that just really differed from what we had seen in the previous generation. We have the day and night cycle, which is really nice. You're playing the game, and Pokemon are changing based on the time. You can evolve Pokemon based off the time. You can just see on your game that it's a different time of day, which is a small thing, but it is a huge thing. I mean, let's face it, if they got rid of the day and night cycle in a current game, people would lose their minds because it's absolutely needed. Now, another thing that they brought in that I absolutely have to mention is friendship. I love that I can literally see with a move or with an evolution how much my Pokemon loves me. Again, small thing, but that's really cool. It really makes you feel a connection with the little digital characters on your screen. Now, next we have roaming legendaries. So in Gold, Silver, we had Suicune, Raikou, and Entei. They're roaming around the region. You're having to catch them. Now, it's aggravating as heck, don't get me wrong, but it's also something that people have been asking for in every game, so clearly we like it at least a little bit. It adds layers to it, and it's a different way to get a Pokemon. It adds a challenge other than you have to battle this Pokemon. No, you have to seek out this Pokemon. And you have to have specific Pokemon to make sure this Pokemon stays in battle and you don't accidentally let it run away. It adds so much more layers, and that's what legendary Pokemon need. It shouldn't be just a harder battle. Now, another thing is the rival of this game. So we had a great rival. I talked about this with Red and Blue, but Gary was a great rival. Silver is also a great rival. He's a jerk, which definitely pushes you to want to beat him. I don't think they have to be a jerk, but I do think that your rival should be a character that you want to beat, just like you want to beat a gym leader. Now, obviously, you want to beat every character in the game, but what I mean is when you battle a random route trainer, your heart isn't pumping, thinking like, oh, I gotta beat this guy. No, you do that with a gym leader because you want that badge, and you do that with a good rival because they push you to want to beat them. They make it challenging, not only in how good of a trainer they are, but in how much they push you as a person, and that's exactly how it should be. Now, we mentioned friendship, and I guess this sort of ties into that, but another great thing these games did was the introduction of so many things that just really shook up the franchise. The Dark and Steel types. We didn't have those in Gym 1, and now we do. Two brand new types, completely changes the type matchups. Psychic types were so strong, so the Dark type beating them and the Steel type resisting them, that was very much needed. Ghost types were also pretty powerful. Now we have Dark types for them. It was something that just was really needed and did a lot for it. Held items, another thing that just really good. You can change how Pokemon evolve now. You can change kind of in battle, boosting their moves and stuff, which is absolutely needed. And breeding with egg moves and baby Pokemon. Again, it's something that just the franchise needed. It was a way to kind of shake up the game and also make you want to do something after you beat the game. I want to breed now so I can get all the baby Pokemon. It gives you more to do since a lot of baby Pokemon can't be found in the wild, and that's especially true in these games. And then we cannot talk about Gen 2 without talking about how they introduced us to shiny Pokemon. The odds are so low of finding them, and that was frustrating then, but now that we're in a world where you can kind of get a shiny Pokemon really easily, I miss the old days where it was hard, and I think that it was just so nice back then that even though it was so rare, it made it all the more worth it when you would see a shiny pop up on your screen, and that just, you can't beat that feeling. You really can't. Another thing that you just have to mention when talking about Gold and Silver is that their post-game was a whole nother region, a second region with 8 more gyms. That just, I mean, come on, that was brilliant. Putting Kanto in, that was amazing. It made the game so freaking good. The post-game was so good. We've, to this day, probably not had a post-game that expansive, except for these games' remakes, because they had a Battle Frontier 2. But either way, that was phenomenal, and especially for a game back then. Now, in this series, I've talked about before how I think it's fine to leave the Elite Four and the Champion a mystery, because they are these kind of all-powerful trainers, and they should have an air of mystery to them. But I also think what they did with Lance in these games really worked. Lance helps you fight Team Rocket, and he's shown to be very clearly powerful, commanding his Dragonite to like use Hyper Beam on people and doors and stuff, and it's incredible, and he just kind of commands the room when he's in there. And that was really cool to kind of have Lance, a character from a previous game, come in early and show why he's the champion now. It was very well done, and it showed that Lance wasn't someone you should mess around with. He's going to be a tough challenge when you get to the Elite Four and have to fight him after beating the 4 Elite Four members. On the note of Lance being a champion when he used to be an Elite Four member in the previous games, we have to talk about what these games were intended as. So initially, Game Freak did plan for Gold and Silver to be their last games. Gen 2 was going to be the last of the Pokemon franchise, and so we kind of have to look at them like they are for a moment to really appreciate these games. They carried on the legacy of Gen 1 so well. They felt like an epilogue to Gen 1. They felt to Gen 1 what I guess you would say Spider-Man Far From Home felt to in-game, where it just, yeah, it's all wrapped up, but we're going to put this nice little bow and sprinkle some glitter on it, make that present look really, really nice. That's exactly what they did. They did this with things like the Team Rocket stuff, with them trying to find Giovanni. That was really cool. Red and Blue returning, and specifically how they return. Blue's now a gym leader. Red is up at the top of Mount Silver waiting for you to challenge him and have a really high-level team to battle. Then we have Koga promoted from Gym Leader to Elite Four member, and Lance promoted from Elite Four to Champion. All these things, like I said, it's not that it was needed, but it was that it was so nice and really wrapping up Kanto. Had this been the end, this would have been a great game to end the franchise on. Now, obviously, I'm very happy they decided to keep going with these games. So, on that note, be sure to let me know in the comments down below what you think the positives were of Gold and Silver. Let me know what I missed. And be sure to also like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. I love doing these videos. I hope you guys are enjoying them as well. And we've got more coming. You don't want to miss them, so hit that bell so you don't miss them. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss them. And hit that like to show your support for these videos. And until next time, I will see all of you later.